King Jesus, King Jesus. So now it finally happened. The Russians have invaded the Ukraine. So says the Ukrainians. In a report in Huffington Post, it says that in Novy Azovsk, Ukraine, tanks, artillery, and infantry have crossed from Russia into an unbreached part of eastern Ukraine in recent days, attacking Ukrainian forces and causing panic and wholesale retreat not only in this small border town, but a wide swath of territory in what Ukrainian and Western military officials described on Wednesday as a stealth invasion. Says the attack outside the city and in the area of the north essentially have opened a new third front in the war in eastern Ukraine between the government forces and the pro-Russian separatists, along with the fighting outside the cities of Donetsk and Luhansk. Exhausted, filthy, and dismayed, Ukrainian soldiers staggering out of Novozorsk for safer territory said Tuesday they were cannon fodder for the forces coming from Russia. As they spoke, tank shells whistled in from the east and exploded nearby. Some of the retreating Ukrainian soldiers appeared unwilling to fight. The commander of their unit, part of the 9th Brigade from Vinnytsia in western Ukraine, barked at the men to turn around to no effect. All right, the commander said, anybody who refuses to fight, sit apart from the others. 11 men did, while the others returned to the city. Some people were in full chaotic retreat. A city busload of them careened past on the highway headed west. Purple curtains flapping through the windows shot out by gunfire. A Ukrainian military spokesman said Wednesday the army still controlled Novozorsk, but that 13 soldiers had died in the fighting. The behavior of the Ukrainian forces corroborated assertions by the Western and Ukrainian officials that Russia, despite its strenuous denials, is orchestrating a new counteroffensive to help the besieged separatists of the Donetsk People's Republic, who have been reeling from the aggressive Ukrainian military advances in recent weeks. Russia is clearly trying to put its finger on the scale to tip things back in favor of its proxies, said a senior American official. Artillery barrages and other Russian military actions have taken their toll on the Ukrainian military. The Obama administration, which has placed increasingly punitive economic sanctions on Russia because of the Ukraine crisis, asserted over the past few days that the Russians had sent new columns of tanks and armor across the border. These incursions indicate a Russian-directed counteroffensive is likely underway, said Jen Psaki, the State Department spokeswoman, said Wednesday. So the Russians are actually invading, and it's been predicted for a long time that they're gonna come to the aid of their allies, and I really don't think Obama's gonna do anything. I mean, it would be stupid for us to go into a war in Russia against the Russians over Ukraine, which is right on the border of Russia. So I don't think So I don't think there is anything that Obama's going to do.
Just in, NATO says that Russian artillery forces are firing on Ukrainian forces inside Ukraine. Meanwhile, the Pentagon is calling for Russia to remove its convoys from Ukraine. Global View columnist Brett Stevens joins me now. Brett, this is a significant escalation, isn't it?
Yeah, I wouldn't even call it a significant escalation because that suggests that there hasn't been some fundamental shift, and I think this really is a difference not just in degree but in kind. You'll remember, Mary, that when the Russians seized Crimea, they did it as a special forces operation. There were those little green men in uniforms that didn't have insignias. There was the patina of a referendum suggesting that somehow this was homegrown. Similarly, with what's happened in eastern Ukraine, you've had ambiguous Russian warfare, really support for local militias, many of them infiltrated by Russian intelligence officers. But now what you have are Russian forces, the Russian military inside Ukraine, firing on Ukrainian positions. So this is an invasion of...
So now the Russians invaded. I don't believe Obama will do anything, nor do I believe he want to do anything other than add additional sanctions. NATO might be up in arms because, they're right there facing the Russians, but they've been expanding NATO into Ukraine when they agreed not to. So, I mean, they're already in economic chaos in Europe because of the sanctions that the Obama administration placed on Russia. As a matter of fact, France had to change government because of the economic crisis they're facing. So I don't believe Obama's going to do anything. I don't want him to do anything. A lot of Zionists and their supporters are going to be up in arms about it. But Obama is doing the right thing by staying out of these foolish wars.